Hello students, welcome back. In the last session, we have discussed some commonly used string methods. In today's class, we will discuss string buffer. In the previous class, we have already discussed about the class string. String class, it is used to create character strings in Java. Apart from string class, we also have a string buffer class which can also be used to create character strings in Java. We have discussed that the major difference between the string class and string buffer class is that strings are immutable, whereas string buffer, it is mutable. That simply means we can modify the string buffer or the contents of string buffer, whereas we cannot modify the contents of class string. So before starting with string buffer, we will discuss immutable strings and then we'll continue our discussion with string buffer class. So let's start. In Java, string objects are immutable. So as I've said, immutable simply means unmodifiable. Once you declare a string object, you cannot modify that object later on. Now you might be having a question that we have declared some strings in the program and we have also modified it later on, and here I am telling you that we cannot modify the string. So we will study what immutable means and what it means when I say we cannot modify a string. Immutable simply means unmodifiable or unchangeable. Once a string object is created, its data or state can't be changed, but a new string object is created. Now once you create a string object, its data cannot be changed, but we can create a new string object instead. Now let us try to understand this with an example. Now look at this example. We have a class in that inside the main, inside public static void main, we have declared a string. You can see here we have a string, a reference variable, it is s, and the string value here it is Sachin. We have created a string object Sachin and the reference variable s is assigned to it. Now when we create a string object, what happens in a backend, that is in the memory, how the memory is located, and that has been shown in this image. If you look at this image, we have a heap memory, computer's memory. In that we have one more round circle here, that is called as string constant pool. The memory to the string object, it is always assigned from the string constant pool, remember. And how the memory is assigned, you can see whenever when I created the first string object, that is s, so we have s is simply a reference variable that refers to a string object, and the object, it is referring to the object having value Sachin. So the Sachin, it is stored in the string constant pool and s is referring to Sachin. Now suppose I want to change the content of this particular string object. Now how I can change it? You can see here I have reassigned the value to s. So I have said s is equals to Sachin Tendulkar. Now initially it was Sachin, now I am changing it, I am making it Sachin Tendulkar. I told you that strings, once we declare the strings, it cannot be changed, the content cannot be changed, but I am changing the content here. But what happens in the backend when I change the content? It will not change the content of original string object. Remember, the original string object which has the content that is Sachin, it is not modified, but whenever we try to change the content, it always creates a new string object. You can see here, a new string object is created. The content of original string object is not changed. That is why strings are called as immutable. The original object's contents are not changed whenever we try to change the contents of string. The new object is created here, and S, which was pointing earlier to Sachin, now it will point to this new object, that is Sachin Tendulkar. That is why strings are called as immutable. Now again, if I in the program, if I reassign S to some other value, say if I say S is equals to, say, Java, if I say S is equals to Java, again one more object is created in the string constant pool. So one more object with a value Java is created here, and again S, which was pointing earlier to Sachin Tendulkar, now it will point to Java, and the earlier references are removed. Now looking at this, you will get to know that every time we try to modify a string, it is creating a new object, and that is why strings are called as immutable, unchangeable. The original object's content is not changed. Okay, I hope you understood what is immutable string, that is unchangeable strings. Now what problem you think it may create when we have strings and when we try to modify strings in the program? Yes, it may. Strings are more memory intensive, it takes more memory, because every time we try to modify the string, it is creating new object and it is taking the memory in the computer's memory. So that is why it is more memory intensive, and you cannot use strings where you are modifying the string constantly or frequently in the program. And that is the reason we have one more class called as the StringsBuffer class. And StringsBuffer class, it is mutable buffer. StringsBuffer class is mutable. That means the contents of StringsBuffer can be changed. Okay, so let's discuss StringsBuffer class. StringsBuffer. Now we know that strings create strings of fixed length. Means once you create a string, you cannot modify anything. You cannot modify the content of a string. You cannot even modify the length of a string. StringsBuffer creates strings of flexible length. Remember, StringsBuffer can be used to create strings of flexible length. That means the length of a string can also be modified. That can be modified in terms of both length and content. Now in case of StringsBuffer, we can even change the length of a string as well as the content of a string, which is not possible with the string class. In StringsBuffer, we can insert characters and substrings in the middle of a string, or even append another string to the end. So we can insert, append strings in between or even at the end of a string by using StringsBuffer. So let's discuss some of the important methods of class StringsBuffer. Important methods of StringsBuffer class are the method append. Now what append does, concatenates the string representation of any type of data to the end of the StringsBuffer object. Now append simply concatenates the string representation at the end of the StringsBuffer object. The name itself tells you appends. The content which we are passing to append, that is added at the end of a StringsBuffer object. Now one example is given here. You can see how we can create a StringsBuffer object. As we can create an object of string, same way we can create an object of StringsBuffer as well. So class StringsBuffer object name str is equals to new StringsBuffer in bracket the content or the value which you want to store in the StringsBuffer. So again we are storing Sachin here, so this str will have value Sachin. Then how to use append method, you can see here str dot method append in bracket whatever you want to add at the end of a string str, you can pass it here. So we are passing Tendulkar. That means it will append this Tendulkar at the end of the string str. What str contains? It contains Sachin. So at the end of Sachin it will add Tendulkar. So the new content of str will be Sachin Tendulkar, remember. So we are appending it at the end. Okay, okay, it is Sachin. So okay, so that is about append. Then we have the method that is insert method. As the name suggests, this method inserts one string into another string. Now if you want to insert a new string in earlier existing string, you can insert it by using a method that is insert. So in case of append method, even append method inserts a string, but it inserts the string at the end of a old string. But suppose if you want to insert a string in between, then what you can do? In that case you can go for a method that is insert method. So insert method, you can see there is an example. Okay, so again they are creating an object of StringsBuffer here str, and it has a value that is test. And then suppose if I want to insert a new string in between this original string which contains value test. Suppose after E I want a new string. So in between this test itself I want to add new string. How I can add it? So look at here, str dot insert, we can pass two arguments to it. Again there are different versions of insert method which may take different arguments. So one which is used here, it is taking two arguments. So the first argument here, it is the index at which you want to insert the new string. We want to insert a new string at index position 2. If you look at the content here, it is test. So at 0th position we have T, at position 1 we have E, at position 2 right now we have S, and then at position 3 what we have is T. Okay, now at position 2 I want some other string to be inserted at position 2, and whatever we have at position 2 right now, that has to be moved to the next index position. So how it can be done? So we have specified index here 2, and then what we want to insert in between? We want to insert 1 2 3 in between there. Now you can see in earlier to the insert method we can even pass an integer. We have passed 1 2 3, it is an integer, it is not enclosed in double quotes, remember. but it is automatically converted into string representation. Even though we are passing here integer, it is converted into string representation. Now we can even pass it as a string by enclosing it in double quotes as well. Okay, so after executing this, you will get a new string, that is, it will have new string, that is TE, and after E we have inserted 1 2 3, so we will have 1 2 3, and then after 1 2 3 the remaining characters will appear, that is S and T and T. So this is what we will get when we execute str.insert. Okay, this is about insert method, which can be used to insert one string into another string. Then we have a method reverse, straightforward method, as it says. Reverse simply reverses the characters in the string. Now look at this example. String buffer str is equals to new string. The content here, it is hello, and when I say str dot reverse, it will simply reverse and you will get a new string, that is O L L E and H. So it will reverse the contents, that is characters, of a given string. Okay, the next method is the method replace. Again, as the name suggests, it replaces. This method replaces the string from specified start index to the end index. So you can replace the string from a specified starting index till the ending index. For example, consider here we have str having value hello world. Suppose I want to replace this word with a new string. Instead of word, I want their Java, hello Java. How I can change that word, or how I can replace that word with Java? By using a replace method. Now look at here, str dot replace starting index, ending index has been specified. I want to replace characters from index position 6 to 11. Now if you look at the index position of W, H, it is at 0th position, then 1 2 3 4 space is 5 and W is 6, remember. So we want to replace from 6 till 11 and we want to add a new string there. What we want to add is, we want to add Java. So this is how a replace function works, and after executing this you will get a new string, that is hello Java instead of hello world. Okay, then next is the function capacity. Okay, the capacity, this method returns the current capacity of string buffer object. That simply means how many characters a string buffer can store. That capacity is returned when you use a method capacity. Now look at this example. String buffer str is equals to new string buffer. If you look at here, we are not storing anything in this string buffer object str. Right now it is empty, and then we are trying to print str dot capacity. When I say str dot capacity, it will print the capacity of this object str. Now looking at this, the content, there is no content. What capacity it will print, do you think? Will it print 0? No, it will not print 0, it will print 16. So you may say why it will print 16, because there are no there is no content which is stored in the object str, because the empty constructor in string buffer, it reserves space for 16 characters. The empty constructor for string buffer, it always reserves space for 16 characters, and therefore the output which it will print, it is 16. Even though we have not uh, added any content to str, by default it reserves 16 characters space, and that is the reason the capacity will return value that is 16. Okay, these are some important methods of string buffer class. So in today's session we have discussed about string buffer, immutable strings, and some of the important methods of string buffer class. So we will stop here today. Thank you.